Okay, good morning. I think I have everything ready for today. Let's see. Good morning and welcome to my stream. Welcome to my channel. My name is Juliet and this is Colorful Threads. And I have 21 years of experience doing embroidery. I've also been a trainer and a technician for Melco Embroidery Systems for about 16 years now. And my goal with the live streams on Sunday is to bring you inspiration, to bring you ideas, to educate you, to help you learn and work with your machine a lot more. So if you can do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you're new, hit the like button if you are a current subscriber, and check out my links below so you can follow me whenever we're traveling around on Instagram, and Facebook is there as well. And today's project, what I wanted to try to work on was applique. What is applique? How to use it in different ways to make either pretty things that you can give as gifts or things that you can offer a client to upsell or enhance their products. So I kind of have a game plan for today, but I don't have everything pre-made. So we're going to make it all together and work through it all together so you can see what the actual real process is like. So starting with the first thing is my banner behind me. This cool banner I actually made probably, trying to think, I think I made it maybe 15 years ago. I got it when I got my XT machine, which is the second machine that I've had. So I've had it for a while. And I will bring it to the camera, or yeah, because the camera can only go so far. Just so you can see the different materials that I used for this, because it was really fun to do. Of course, it took me longer than I thought. So this would actually be more along the lines of a banner. So I actually had to sew each letter individually when I made this. So the project that we did last week, where we were doing the multiple hoopings, where we were printing out each piece and lining it up with the next piece, basic same thing that you would do in order to create a large banner like this. You're going to print out each letter individually, place it where you want it, hoop it, stitch it out. So kind of building on that, if you could say. And yeah, so here we go up close. So most of the time it's just regular fabrics, some cotton fabrics. Most of these are cotton fabrics. This one has like a metallic thread through it, some corduroy. This one had some spangles, which most of them have come off in the wash over the years. But yeah, you can create pretty much anything with applique, from a single design on the front of a shirt or a number if you were doing like onesies or birthday shirts for 1-year-olds or 4-year-olds, and that one single letter on the front of the shirt, you know, that kind of stuff for the appliques. Let's see if I can get this back up here. Okay. There we go. Some of the other things that you can do is patches. I have a couple of patches that I made, some simple ones, just a nice little globe of the earth, and this one was a Grateful Dead skull that I made for a friend because I'm going to put that on a jacket for him. So patches are essentially appliques. It's just the material that you stitch on is a little bit different. Speaking of which, that's one of the things I didn't bring in here, but that's fine. Do I have it in my bin? So I'm in a bin. This is my applique patch bin that I carry in the camper because I can't carry a whole bunch of stuff, but I have the basics. Okay. Yeah, this is all just fabrics and backings. Drew, um, underneath the table in the house, there's some plastics folded up for doing patches. You can look for some of that and just bring me a section or a piece. That would be fabulous for the patches. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to move to the computer screen. So I'm going to change the camera to show the computer, and we're going to actually create an applique. And I'm just going to use simple shapes in the beginning, but really you can use any shape you want. All right. Hi, Anna. Okay, switch the screen. Screen. Okay, there's my computer screen. All right. So the software I'm working in is the Design Shop version 11, and I have the professional level. So I have all of the fun bells and whistles that are available out there. And I'm going to show you quick tips, and I'm also going to show you how to create the applique if you don't have all the fancy stuff. All you really need to have is the basic level of digitizing software. So if you have the bottom level, which is alphabet lettering only, you will not be able to create them. But anything from Design Shop all the way up to professional, you will be able to create them. All you really need is some walk stitches, which is the tool that we have right over here in the top left. We need a walk stitch, and we need some column. I use the single line center for doing the appliques. All right, so let's just start with a shape with a walking stitch. Now, if you had like a design to bring in, you could have it in the background and run off of that. But we're just going to do a square or a rectangle. So first thing I do is turn on my tool, have it active, come to my screen, and I'm going to draw my shape. I'll start in the center and go over, let's see, 2 inches here. And then we will go kind of halfway and do a round point, and then we'll do a straight here just to kind of round off the corners, because eventually this will be a patch. 1, 2 inches, a half, 1, 2 inches, so we need to be down here. Round that one off, and then we have 1, 2.5, so left here, right there, left, right, left. Thank you for the plastic. Perfect. All right, now there's a couple of ways you can attach your line to the first one, but to make sure that it attaches perfectly, what you want to do is press the Shift key on the keyboard and then the Enter key, and that will tell it to connect to the last point. That way there's no break in the design here. It attaches those two pieces together. Just kind of helps keep you from having like a little divot or misaligned. Okay, so just like any other embroidery shape, now if you decide you want it a little smaller, you can change it, because I think I want to do a 4x4 square. So we'll bring this down to a 4-inch by 4-inch square. But really, this shape could be anything. There we go. Square. Now, the next thing that we need, this is going to be our outline. So we're going to stitch this onto the fabric or shirt or garment so that we know where to put our piece of fabric. So the next thing that we're going to do is attach that fabric down. So I just duplicate this walk stitch. And you can right click and use the duplicate tool here. And that just makes it the exact same thing right on top of the other. I'm going to give it a color change to maybe a green. And then we need our cover stitch. Cover stitch is going to be last, but what I need next is the, I put down a zigzag stitch to hold the fabric to the item while I come back and do words or letters or whatever I'm going to do on the inside of the embroidery, holding it stable, and then the last thing I'll do is my satin stitch around the edge. So the next thing I'll do is create that single line center is the tool that we use because we want the stitches to go half on and half off of our piece. So I zoomed in so I can see it really good. And I'll show you how this tool works. Basically, we just draw the exact same thing that we did using our little right clicks and left clicks. That's close enough. That's close enough. And come into this corner. And that should be fine. Now, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the walking stitches. I'm going to hold the Shift and the Enter key. And then Enter again. And that just gives me the default width of this. Escape. All right. Escape. Get out of this tool. Okay. So now what I have is the default width of this. And I know that I want my edges to be nice and wide to cover my edges. So I changed this. I really like a 35 points, which is 3.5 millimeters if you had to convert that in different software. And then I also change my density. This little bar at the top only gives me the percentage. So in order to change the density and have control over exactly how much it is, I need to go into the properties of the single line center. So I just do a right click and go to properties. Have my, see here it says the density is 100. This is defaulted to do auto. Once I turn off the auto, then I can come in and adjust the points to what I want. And since this is exact, it's going to be to hold my fabric in place so I can do some embellishments in it. I do it at 25. It's just the number that I like. You can see how that made it nice and wide here. Nice and wide stitches. 25 points from one stitch to the other. And this will be perfect to hold down. And then the last thing I do is you can duplicate this as well. You could always do a copy paste. And I'm going to make this number 3 a blue. That way it just kind of alternates between the two colors. So each one has a color change because I'm going to be stopping. It's going to be stopping after the first color, stopping after the second color. After the third color, if I want to add something in there, I need the space to be able to do that. And then we have our last color, which is going to be the cover stitch. Now the cover stitch, I want to be a nice dense edge. So I will take that density and I bring that back down to 4. Now that stitch is going to be nice and tight. So if I turn on my 3D stitches, it's all filled in around the edges, and that's going to be nice. But the last thing I want is to make this satin stitch that covers a little bit bigger than my zigzag that I use to stitch and hold the fabric down so that I don't see any edges of those stitches, just a little bit bigger. So I will do this at 40, and these are my favorite numbers. Yours might be different. Everything is centered and ready. So this is our basic shape for an applique. This shape could be anything, circles, squares, a shape of a number, could be the shape of a duck, could be any shape you want. If you want to incorporate in between this other embroidery shapes inside it or words, for instance, let's do some lettering. And let's just say happy we'll put that here and bring that down. And then we'll do another one and we'll call this one Applique. We'll put this one here and kind of shrink that one down. All right, so we have our words that are going to be inside of it, or shapes or embellishments if you're wanting to put like facial features on the duck or so forth. But what I need to make sure is that they stitch out before my satin stitch. And right now, because normally whenever you create a new item in the software, it just drops it down underneath. So I'm going to take this single line center here, and I'm going to left click and drag it down so it's last. And I'm going to color change that one to blue. So see, I'm just alternating colors. Now my lettering is here, and you could make your lettering whatever color you want. Let's make it red. Okay, so now we have all of the pieces for an applique, either to go on a garment or we're going to make it into a patch. So we're going to sew a little bit of all of that so you can see how easy it is to convert things into patches. All right, walk normal. We got our second walk normal, outline tack down, we got our stabilizing stitch, we got our lettering, and then we have our cover stitch. Overall design is 4x4. Perfect. All right, I did not turn on the software for the machine yet, but the machine is on. Okay, so this is the design we stitched out last week. So what I want now is to load this design. Now, if you are working with a no, not a Brother, a Bravo, or the Bernina E16 machine, you will have to save your design first. So I'm just going to do a file, save as, and I like dropping stuff on my desktop. We're going to call this square applique and save that. So saved, and plus you're going to want to save it anyways for future reference. Now, if you have a XT, the Melco XT, XTS, or the red and white Amaya machines, and you're using version 10 of the operating system, you can load your design by clicking File, Machine, and Load Design. If you're running version 11 of the operating system and version 11 Design Shop, there is a quick button that will just load the design for you. And it's in the software. So multiple ways of doing all of those things. Okay, so we have our design. Now what we're going to do is the most important part, which is set our color sequence. And for this, we need some stops. All right, first thing we'll do is colors. So we can see it across the bottom, our colors that came in, the blue and the green and the blue, and then our red for our lettering and our blue for the cover stitch. So we just have to decide, what these colors are going to be. The first two colors are going to be hidden, and I like to make those the color of the cover stitch eventually, all these normally. So I'm going to use, what do I have lots of on the machine? I have purple. I have purple. This purple I have lots of. Okay, so we're going to do purple for the outline, purple for the tack down, purple for my zigzag stabilizing stitch, and then purple for my cover stitch. Yes, now all of it shows through with this purple color. My lettering, I'm going to do, let's see, I'm using some dark blue fabric today. So I'm going to have purple outline, dark blue, and I'm going to do my lettering in white. Let's just do white. That'll show up nice. Okay. Highlight and set color. All right. So I have all my colors set, so now I need to put in my stops. When it actually stitches this first walk stitch, when it's done, I need the machine to stop and wait for me to apply the second color of fabric that I'm going to use. So I use the A, which is the applique stop. And that I'm going to drop it right on top of the numbers so it settles right between color 1 and color 2. The other one I'm going to do is a pause between color 2 and color 3, which is attaching our fabric down, which is what happens with color number 2. We're stitching it to the garment. And I'm using a pause so that later when it's sewing, I can show you the difference between what an applique does and what a pause does. Then we're going to do our stabilizing stitch. We don't need to stop after that because after it's stable, we can go straight into the stitches and then straight into the cover stitch. So we just need 2 stops for this particular applique. Perfect. Colors are set. Then we have our hoop. Let's see, do I want to use that hoop? That is the 17 by 11. I think I'm going to switch that out and use my favorite hoop, which is a 12 by 12. Go into my squares and 12 by 12. Perfect, that's fine. All right, so my tension for the NPT, which is the new EMT16x needle plate trimmer, I am using a tension of, let's do 7, which is normal. If I hit the little shirt, it's going to give me 7. And my speed is just going to be fine because I'm not sewing on any strange fabrics that would require a speed change, or I'm not using any threads like metallics or rayons that would require a change in speed as well. So now I'm going to switch over to the hooping camera. Hooping camera. Oh, there's the mouse. Awesome. There's my hooping table, and my hooping table actually is kind of full at the moment, but okay, we're going to work on this. These are all hoops that I went through that I have either multiples of or don't ever use, and so I'm going to put them up on my website for sale. Not my 12 by 12. Can't have that one. So basically I have some hat hoops that go on the Amaya or the XT. I have 2 of these extra from when I had that machine, and they don't go on the new driver, so I have those for sale. This is a cap gauge as well for a graphite driver. And I have, these are 12 centimeter hoops, which I never use. 12 centimeter, I think they're 4 point something inches. I also have the dog collar and or belt hoop, and these are 16 square hoops, which I love and I have 4 of. I don't need these 2, so I'll have these on the website later as well. get them laid on the floor out of the way. Maybe they're out of the way. We'll see later. Okay. Hoop. So I have some, so I have this shirt where I did a test of a sublimation material that I don't wear, that I'm going to do something on the back. We're going to put our square, and then I have this old ripped tie-dye shirt that I'm going to use. Actually has my logo, haha, but it's like falling apart. So I'm going to use the tie-dye in the middle for my applique fabric. Why not? All right, so then this is a shirt, so I'm going to need cutaway backing. Set that aside. Set my hoop aside for a second. Get out my cutaway. Here we go. Get a piece big enough for my hoop. I love having the big rolls of backing because I never know what project I'm going to do or what size backing I need. All right, top of my hoop, get my shirt back. Now, you could be very specific about where you're going to be sewing this, and later we are going to be printing and actually doing a project where we cut out a piece of the garment for a different way of doing applique. First of all, we're going to do the base. Put my backing up in here. And I guess this shirt's more black than blue, like I thought. That's fine. Got it? Okay, there we go. All right, so my back of my hoop, I like having these spread apart in the bottom right because that's just the direction that I work when I'm hooping. And it's going to go under backing, under garment, normal hooping. Okay. Get this hooped. See, I work to the corner. Too tight. I got to loosen it. Okay, let's see if I loosened it enough. Nope, didn't loosen it enough. I guess I really had that thing tightened down. Okay. Backing is in. Come on. There we go. I got to let it bounce on my tabletop. Got it. All right, so we're hooped. And you can hoop with, whatever hoop is your favorite hoop. Magnetic hoops, ring inside of a ring. Okay. And just because, I'm going to double check, flip it over, make sure my backing is all the way around. Excellent. All right, we're ready to go to the machine. Possibly. I'm going to switch cameras. All right, let's see. Nope, I put all these hoops in the way of the tripod. Okay. Life in a small space. All right, I need the camera to be here. That should be good, right? How's that? That'll work. All right. I actually need to move my arms for this hoop. Maybe. Where did I put my box? Here it is. All right. Gonna put this on the inside position because there's, two different positions for these arms. And since I went from a wide hoop to a narrow one, I need to put these arms in. All right. So I got it on most of the way. Still got some play, but that's because we're not done. This side. Okay, on and a little loose. So today, as you can see, I'm not using my tabletop because I'm doing a shirt. So, and you kind of see how I hold it. I just kind of hold it in my left. I gotta go this way. In my left arm, and I have my fingers where the neck of the shirt is, so that I can make sure when I come to the machine that I get that back on. Get my hoop in, and it's kind of loose, but I'm gonna lock it in. And then once I have it locked in, I'm gonna press in my arms so that they snug and line up perfectly. Find my Allen wrench and tighten these arms down now. All right, now that is on. Okay, so I'm just going to stitch this design just kind of in the middle of the hoop because I'm not trying to, get a special position out of it at the moment. So I am going to trace from here, just because tracing is always good. It looks great. And I think because I was thinking that the white was going to stitch on the blue, I need to change my thread color. I think I'm going to change it to black lettering on this tie-dye stuff. So I'm just going to go over to the computer and do that. Go to my colors and change this to black. There we go. All right, so I'm going to my machine is not lined up properly. Why are you not lined up properly? Okay. Now it's lined up properly. Oh, it's going to stitch the purple. I need a piece of fabric. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to change back to the overhead camera for a second and talk about the fabric that you use for the applique for a little bit. So what I did is I set up a piece of t-shirt, right? So there's no t-shirt. You can use a couple of different products. I have a couple of them here I have experimented with that are meant to go on the back of the fabric. So what I have here is this is just heavy duty Wonder Under. So you would press this to the back of the so that then you have a peel and stick, and as well afterwards you can heat press this or iron this and it will bond this shirt to the other garment that you're doing. So you can just put it on the way I'm doing today without any of these, or I do have some that are prepped and ready to do some with. Like I said, I have a bunch of stuff ready. So this tie-dye here and this piece here, these are ready for patches. I've pressed and bonded this fabric, which is just a regular cotton, to this one is Applique Magic, so it has it's like a piece of backing that is double-sided. And then I have it bonded to some buckram, but you could have it with just the Applique Magic. I don't have any pieces like that. These are all ready to be patches. But you could also do that, bond it. This piece of material is actually tackle twill that you could get from stalls. This one has a iron-on backing, but it's not peel and stick. If you were doing shirts for a sports team, they might want this twill look and effect. So you can just buy that already ready to go. My piece of material has not got any of that on it because it's just for the lesson today. And it's just going to lay on this test piece. But we're going to play with this other stuff a little bit later. All right, back to our tripod. Okay, so I have, and I stitched it dark so you can't even see it on here, but I have my purple outline of where to put my square, and I'm going to make sure my fabric covers that square. And just for the sake of keeping my fingers out of the machine, I like to tape the corners. So I'm going to put my hand inside, and I'm going to hold the fabric level so that I'm not pressing and pushing down into the hoop, which could distort and unhoop your item. Give it some support from the back. There we go. That's pretty stable and not going to move. And we'll hit start so that it will attach now this fabric down. These scissors are called Ultimate Machine Embroidery Scissors. These are amazing. I'll have these listed on my website as well. These are awesome. You see how it's got this great bend right here? I can get into the hoop and my hands are out here and I'm just going to trim around the edge of this. They call this, if you're looking, it's going to be called cut in place. So to do that, I'm going to take it out of here because I can't get to the back to trim it. So I'm going to take it out and move it to my table so you can watch me trim. Okay, so now you can see my line, and that's what I'm going to trim, right around the edge of that. So these are how these scissors work. I just kind of come along, and I can trim right up close, nice and tight to that edge of that stitching. Looks good. That's pretty tight cut. Rest of this is just going to become garbage. Okay. Now then, we're going to put it back in the machine. And it's going to do that zigzag stitch to stabilize the fabric, and then it's going to do the sewing. So when it does the zigzag stitch, I'll stop it and show that to you. All right, so I don't have a stop programmed because it's going to go straight to the lettering, but I want to stop it just to show you the zigzag. So you can see the zigzag running along, and that's going to stabilize this fabric all the way around, so when it comes through and does the lettering, it doesn't shift or pull free from the edge. Locked in, locked in, locked in. Okay. And we're good. Now it's going to do the happy applique lettering that we created. We're just stitching. I can stand here and watch the machine run all day. I hear you. What's going on? We got a thread break. Let me check my bobbin. We have lots of bobbin. And I'm just backing up with the reverse key back to where it first started having a little bit of an issue, right when it started to do the loop of the P. See how this one stitches, if it breaks as well. Nope, didn't break in the same place. That's good. Hi everybody, welcome to Applique today. We're just kind of letting some lettering sew out at the moment. Then we're going to see what we made. So if you have any questions, shoot them down in the comments. Also, if there's something that you would like to learn that you have not seen a video for, put that down in the comments as well, and I will add that to the list of things that we will be doing. Every Sunday, we plan to do a live. As long as we have good internet connection. All right, one more litter, and then it's going to do our nice, pretty satin around the edge. Switching back to the purple. Perfect. It's almost done. It's at 2 minutes. Happy thumbs up. Okay. We have our happy applique. Any fabric, any shape, any words, whatever you want to create. Okay, I'm going to switch back to the overhead because we're going to now do reverse applique. Okay, so I'm going to rehoop, and what we're going to do is a reverse applique. So let's say, for instance, you had a logo on a shirt, and that logo is wrong, or you're just trying to maybe save a shirt that was a really expensive shirt, and you want to put something on it for you to wear or your employees to wear or something like that. You can carve out the old design, because if you try to stitch over top of it, it'll get too thick and lumpy, and you would see it on top. So you want to carve out the shirt in order to put your new piece of fabric on. Yes. And I'm going to loosen this hoop a little bit more again. Okay, because it was really tight. I got a really bad hoop burn on this shirt. Okay. There we go. That popped in a whole lot easier and better. Okay, so we're going to do a reverse applique. So if we had right here a design that was already stitched in the garment, and you need to carve it out so you can put something over top of it, like our applique, we're going to cut this shirt out. Just putting the machine, I'm putting the shirt back on the machine. Get it locked in. Change the camera. Okay. for this, I like to do a little bit wider edges. So we're going to switch to the software and make a couple of small changes. Okay. I got this fabric. I thought I was going to use it. Not using it. Put it away. Okay. So I want to make sure when I do the reverse applique that this first single line that we have has edge walking to it. And it looks like it does. Because we're going to trim right along the screen, and we need stitches on one side to catch our fabric and stitches on the other. So I like making these wider, and I'm going to make this like double 45. And so that means my cover stitch needs to be at like 50. So that everything is just a little bit wider to catch one side and the other of the fabric. And it's got a zigzag, it looks like, underlay as well as the edge. So this is perfect. A couple of minor changes, but they will make a big difference when you're cutting out fabric and adding a new piece. So we will file save as, and I'm going to call this one square reverse. We're going to load that one from the machine, square reverse, just to load a different way. All right, so colors all going to stay the same. Nothing's going to change about any of that. Speed, all of this is going to stay the same, just because we're using the exact same design. Okay, so now let me do a trace. And nope, it's too close to the other one. I'm going to switch the camera so you can see what I'm doing. Hi, Jerry. Jerry decided to come in and say hi. All right, so it's a little too high, so I'm going to move it down, just so I don't go right over top of the other piece. And start. I have 20 black aprons that have a logo in the wrong position. They wanted it very high, and I put it more towards the center. So I tried to do an applique over, but when it does some stitches in the details, it breaks. All right, so I'm going to take this to the table and switch the camera so you can see me trim this. So if this had embroidery you're trying to get rid of so it's not bulletproof and cause problems underneath there, I'm just going to come in and grab that fabric and snip it. Snip it. And I'm going to trim it out from the inside. Getting rid of this t-shirt that has something on the shirt. Could have a hole as well. Could be trying to patch a hole or something. All right. We have our backing still. What I'm going to do is basically over top of this put my fabric, which I need to cut a piece. And I'm going to continue right up the middle of the shirt where it has the design split. There we go. That's going to go over top like that. Okay, now we're ready to go back to the machine. is in good. Now we're going to attach our fabric. And then we're going to take it off and trim this piece. Okay, I'm going to pull this over now to trim this. All right. There we go. Nice. All right. Now, the next step is going to attach these two pieces and make them one. Perfect. So it did a zigzag across. Now it's done an edge walk on either side. Now it's going to do that wide satin that we had. So this is going to be a very good seam on this shirt because it's also attaching it to the backing on the back. So we're not going to cut that off, which will help keep this stable when we're done. That looks really good. I'm going to show this close. All right, we'll bring it to the camera. So I know that seam is going to be nice and stable across there. The shirt's not going to come apart. Okay, back. There we go. All right. Now we're going to stitch some lettering. And I'm going to throw away all the scraps. The inside section that I cut out of the shirt, and then the outside scraps. Gonna have to find my lint roller. how do I pin PayPal to the top of chat? We're almost there. It's got 4 minutes. Can't figure it out. Don't know. Next time. Thread. Break. Alright, so I guess I'm going to need to change the needle for the black thread. Shouldn't have this many breaks. But no problem. There we go. One more letter and then it's going to do outside edge. I think I lost my little windsock for my speaker somewhere. My mic. Awesome. Now it's going to do that. Edge. Beautiful. Huh, it's trying to focus and it's all blurry. It's moving pretty fast. This looks really good. $30. Okay, I'm going to switch to the overhead camera now. Here's our piece. We just have to clean up our little threads. Great. So that is applique. So this one was applying the fabric directly to the shirt without any alterations. And in this one, we actually cut the black out, doing a reverse applique in case you had maybe a hole in a shirt that you were trying to do something with, or an embroidery that you were trying to get out of there so that you can stitch the new stuff. Happy, happy applique. All right, so the last thing we're going to do with our same exact design, and I can even still use the one that's loaded, that's not a problem. But what we're going to do is make it into a patch. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the stabilizing of the fabric for the patch. So I prepped this already. And I tried several different products, and I found that my favorite, because everybody's going to have their favorites for their applications of what they're doing, is because I tried from Joann Fabrics, and I bought a whole lot of this, and so I'm going to use it up, is the Heavy Duty Wonder Under. And this is just a transferring web. So this material, when you press it on the fabric and then you press it on your garment, all disappears because it's just the heat and bond material. And that works great. But I bought from Madeira some of their Applique Magic. This is the Easy Applique Magic. Yeah, it's blurry. Upside down. There it is. And I love it. It has an actual thin piece of cutaway that it bonds to it. So when you're done bonding it, there's still a webbing of fabric there. So it's what I like. It's my favorite for doing patches because when I do a patch, I am bonding whatever fabric I want to use for that patch to buckram, which is a stable, stiff, stabilized with starch, woven, so it has no stretch in any directions by itself. And I bond it to whatever fabric I want. You can see the applique magic is here in between the two. Some of it let go. I probably did that demonstrating something else. This is some denim that I did. This is a little piece of black for a small little piece. I was going to experiment with some corduroy, so I prepped some corduroy. This is a piece of sublimation fabric where I actually turned white fabric into yellow, and this was a scrap from another job, so I was going to use that. This one is some regular cotton fabric that I bonded because I wanted to do a piece here. These are just some tie-dye that I bonded to the backing because I wanted to I'm going to do some big pieces out of this. Or it's just prepped and ready to do whatever I want with. So we are going to use, I need a 4x4 piece. Will that work? Is that big enough? No, it's just too small. The yellow is big enough. Maybe. Nope, just too small for 4x4. This white is big enough. Okay, I'm just going to keep it the same theme, and I'm going to use this piece of tie-dye, since we're doing tie-dye. Oh, wait, I have some other pieces. What are these? More pieces. Some camo, that's definitely big enough. Some white. Here's a white square, that might be big enough. These are prepped and ready. Yeah, I have a bunch ready. Is that piece big enough? Yeah, this piece is enough. I did some crown patches for when we went on a cruise, and I made extra. So we'll use this white here. Alright, put that down out of the way, that down out of the way. Alright, so I have my piece that I'm going to make my patch out of. And what I want to do is get my hoop. And we're going to do the magic part. So you can buy this there's an amazing hoop system from Madeira that you can get that does patches. And the one that I bought was the previous model, which goes in a slimline and it clamps like this. This is one of the ways to figure out patches back in the day. And I still use these because I'm trying to use up all of my little pieces. And this material lets me do patches. And these are some that I had done that were fails. So, and it gives me that clean cut edge when I'm done to the patch. And it rips out. So this worked amazing, and I love this. And I still use it for the small stuff till I use up my windows. But then I had this job come along, And these patches were way too big for this little window. So I had to figure out a way to create this, and it's plastic. Basically, the material that's in here is plastic. This one is 2 layers because this plastic I was trying ended up being one. So I had to do 2. And then the colors were wrong on this, so this one was a fail. But this is applique. It's appliqued to the plastic, and then this black piece is appliqued on top of the red to get the different layers. So this is what it looked like finished. The edges are nice and crisp and pretty. Patch ready to go. And I'll put a link to the multi-frame system, which is the current version of this, later on the video. So what I did is I went to my local, I think it was an Ace Hardware, and I got some plastic. And I ended up with 6 mil, which is the thickest that you can get in the drop cloth area. So I need to hoop this in my hoop. And this, I bet, is why I had this thing so tight. Because I'm going to have to tighten this back up now. Because you want this plastic to hoop snug. You don't want it to move just like any other hooping. You want it to be tight like a drum. Oh, too tight. Okay, let me get this plastic. All right. Tightened it too much. But you want it nice and tight because this is the only thing you're stitching on. So you don't want it to move and slip in the hoop. There we go, nice and tight. Okay, so this is our fabric for making patches. So literally the only thing I'm going to do is put this on the machine and hit start. I may get a false thread break at the beginning because this is pretty thin. And if we do, I know it's just because it's too thin and I should lower my activine. Yay. Okay, so the applique stopped. See how it moved forward? It brought this out so that I can see where I'm stitching. I'm going to take my piece of material, make sure that it covers, and tape it down so it doesn't move around. And I'm just going to look on the back to make sure I covered that square. And I did. Perfect. Hit start. It's going to go in and tack it to my garment and or my fabric. All right, I'm going to trim this. Okay, just like what we've done previously, we'll take our tape off. And trim. And I'm just going right along those stitches. And it's that should be plenty. All right. Starting to look. Now we're going to do our cover stitch, and then our embroideries, and then in our satin, the real magic happens. Provided I can put it on the machine correctly. I'll switch the camera back. Cajun Stitchery, hi! Hi, Peggy. I just saw my chat pop up over there. How are you? Welcome to Applique Magic. Applique, we have done lots of cool stuff. We are about to stitch our stabilizing stitch and then some embroideries to finish this patch. And then I'll show you all of the things that we did. We are currently making patches. First, the one we're doing is square. Awesome. I'm going to show this up close. This is our stabilizing stitch, which has zigzags and some edge walking underlay. See if the camera will zoom in and see it. Come on, baby, you can do it. Yeah. See all that stitch is nice and stable. Wait till you see the next project. Oh, you must be working on something really cool. You are always doing amazing, cool stuff. Ooh, Earth Day. I don't know if it's necessarily Earth Day, but I was just trying to do, North America on a patch because that's, where we live. I was trying to figure out camera angles, right? I had a request for one. Somebody wanted one. But we're just hanging out on a Sunday, stitching. If you didn't see last week's video, we were doing multiple hooping of a large project, and that was lots of fun. I still haven't finished sewing that out. I haven't had time. I've been busy all week. But I will get it done because I want to frame it and hang it on the wall. I'll show you where I'm at with it. This is where I'm at with last week's project. So see, I still have the other half to do on the other side. I think it's a total of 8 hoopings when I'm done. This was my first test practice sew of it, which was on a so see, it's going to be so big and pretty. But this was multiple hoopings, 8 hoopings to make this whole scene. So I've got a little bit of work to do to finish that. If I have a chance today, I'll work on that. If there is something that you would like to learn, ooh, Mardi Gras train. Oh, nice. Okay, if there's something that you would like to learn or technique, just shoot it into the comments and I'll put it on my list. I have a running list of topics to cover on my Sunday Funday. Stitch with me. We'll see how it goes. So far, I'm enjoying it. If you haven't, give me a thumbs up. Give a thumbs up to the videos. That helps. Love it. Yeah, it is a pretty beautiful design. It's actually a quilting design from a quilt designer. And it's like a top row of the quilt, and then there's some that go in the middle, and then there's a bottom row to the quilt. So the instructions that are given for it are for like a home machine. So I had to convert them into multi-needle instructions. Trapunto. Okay. Trapunto, so that it's puffy in the middle. So different than the video that I did of the revert, because I did one video already, sort of trapunto, I guess. But I'll put trapunto on the list right now. Because there's a couple of different techniques that are called trapunto. But it is on the list. And I get to take patches off and applique off and reverse applique off. I got my lettering done. Now it's going to do the edge stitching so that this comes off of this plastic easy. About 3 minutes left to do the outside. Thank you. You're welcome. We're in the camper, which is where we always are. Always in the camper. I work out of an 8. See, I can almost touch all of the walls on either side. I'm about a foot away from each one. Because the studio ends just where the camera is at. I think I like starting at 10 better than 9. Last week we started at 9. It was really early. We didn't even have breakfast. We skipped breakfast to start streaming so quickly. So I like starting at 10 better. Eastern Standard Time would be 9 for you. 35 seconds. 35 seconds. 35 seconds. I just love it. Even after 21 years, I get excited over even the simplest thing. I just love it. All right, it's done. All right, I'm going to move this over to the overhead camera. Okay, got my trash. All right, so now the cool magic of doing patches. It's done. I mean, from this point, you could trim some threads, like right on the edge if you wanted. I had one little thread here. If you wanted to snip some of the edges, but the back's just fine. So we have in there is our stabilizer under the plastic, and then we have our awesome fabric on top, and a patch. I had it right. There we go. Happy applique. Excellent. So these are the cool things that we did today using applique. We took the exact same design. I made a little change for here that we used in this. Basically, we created a shape, which can be any shape of applique you want. We did some lettering. This one is the fabric applied directly to the shirt. In this one, what we did is we cut away a piece of the shirt. If you had maybe a hole in the shirt, or we were playing with the example of having an old logo here that you need to remove in order to stitch over it. So we cut out a piece of shirt, did our scraps from that, to do a reverse applique. And this technique could be played with for sure. And then we took that exact same design and made a patch out of it, all applique. Just a couple of different things that you can do with applique. And from here, the options become endless, for sure. You could even take this reverse applique technique and use a water-soluble backing and a piece of lace and punch out a piece of a towel or something, or a shirt or a blouse in a shape, put in a piece of lace there instead of this fabric with that water-soluble backing that goes away afterwards, and then you could see through the lace. I mean, really, it's up to you what you want to do with applique. Did I miss anything, Ms. Peggy, as far as applique is concerned? We did normal, we did reverse, removing some, and then we did a patch, all appliques. The only other thing would be the water soluble and a piece of lace. But I do not have lace handy, and I'd have to go hunt for a piece. That looks great. So actually what you can't see is my needle is blunt. It's actually cutting away at the white so I can tell my needle's blunt. Gotta change it, and which makes sense because we had a couple of thread breaks in the black. So yeah, the edges makes it nice. And if you have a little bit of plastic showing through on the sides, just a little lighter, clean up the plastic. And I have a lighter lighting the stove. And you just run that across the edge. If I get the lighter to work. The breeze is blowing. Yeah, this lighter's not working. Maybe this lighter isn't going to do it. Never mind. Throw it in the trash. No other lighter. Okay. But if you have little pieces of plastic on the edge that you don't like, just a lighter will make them kind of go away. But yeah, patch. Stay long. That's how you do them. You got it. Okay. All right, everybody. So we're going to do like an exit scene now. We'll see how I do. I'm trying to practice this stuff. Get my background set. No. There we go. Okay. So, thank you for stopping by today. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for learning how to do some appliques and what you can do with it. And I hope you will be inspired and make lots of wonderful and beautiful things. Again, my name is Juliet. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And give me a thumbs up. And let me know if there's anything you'd like to learn. I'm going to sign off for today. I kind of covered everything I wanted to cover, and I have enough information to kind of boil this down to a shorter tutorial video later. And I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you next week. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do next week on the live stream, but I might have it figured out by Wednesday. And I will schedule a video with what we're going to do. We'll go from there and see how it goes. Thank you for stopping by. Talk to you later, everybody, and I'll see you next week on Sunday Fun Day. Stitch with me. Ha!